Hey friends, welcome to episode 19 of the Way Too Indiecast, the official podcast of way2indie.com. I'm your host, Bernard Boo, coming to you from San Francisco, California. I can actually say that this time. And joining me today are some very special guests. First, someone you're familiar with, Dustin Jansick, the editor-in-chief of Way Too Indie. What's up, boss?
Not much. Thanks for having me again.
How's Sioux Falls, man? Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
We were just under a tornado watch about a half hour ago, so always interesting.
Lovely Sioux Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have two very special guests coming to you both from New York City, New York. First, we have a friend of the website, a filmmaker named JP Chan, whose latest feature, A Picture of You, is available now on iTunes, Amazon Instant Streaming, and apoyfilm.com. What's up, JP?
Hey, guys. From New York, hello.
Good to hear you and see you. You listeners can't see this, but we can actually see JP on the Skype call. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was under the impression this would be a video Skype, and of course I show up on video, and everyone is like, "Oh, it's audio." So I'm the guy at the party who underdressed or overdressed.
Overdressed.
Oh,
yeah.
You've got cojones.
Yes.
Cojones. Also joining us, it's a pleasure to have him, is one of the leads from A Picture of You, Andy Pang.
Hello.
Hey, Andy, you're a multi-talented force in the film industry.
Well, yeah, I'm just a survivor. Whatever it takes to, pay the bills and, keep my hand in storytelling. So, yeah, I guess I'm
going to list some stuff off to, inflate your ego and tell me if I get any of these wrong.
Sure.
I just looked at your IMDb, so.
Hopefully it's all right.
As an actor, you worked on shows like The Blacklist, Elementary, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Law and Order. Is that right?
That is correct.
Wow. What did I miss? What else have you done?
I've done a lot of those, and then I did a film in the late 90s with Jamie Foley, a guy who's been doing a lot of TV directing lately, but it was called The Corruptor, and I got a chance to work with Chow Yun-fat back in the day. Chow Yun-fat and Mark Wahlberg picture.
Wow. That's so cool. And you've also are in the editorial department of plenty of movies.
I am.
Crazy. J.C. Shandor's All Is Lost, Margin Call. You also worked on one of my favorite TV shows ever, Damages, and you also worked on Borgia.
I did. Well, it's hey, let me just so you don't get misled though. This is Borgia. It's not the Borgias. This particular Borgia was created by Tom Fontana, the guy who did the Homicide series back in the 90s. And this particular version of the Borgia family story was actually filmed in Europe. And this is not the version that is on HBO with Jeremy Irons. This is a separate version that kind of their own take. I actually haven't seen not HBO. I actually haven't seen the Showtime version, but I understand that one has a lot more sex in it.
I believe it. I believe it. But man, what else did I miss? You've got a lot of stuff going on in the industry.
I don't know if you missed anything. I'm working on a cool film right now. I'm working with actually an old classmate of mine, Tom McCarthy, who did, speaking of independent films, did Station Agent back in early 2000 with Peter Dinklage. And I just got a chance to connect with him on a film called The Cobbler that kind of came and went called with Adam Sandler. But right now we're working on a project called Spotlight, which is pretty cool. And I think you guys will hear a lot more about it in the fall.
Awesome. Fantastic! It's a terrific body of work, and I love both your guys' stuff. I love A Picture of You. We've covered that film a few times on the site because I liked it so much.
Oh,
and
thank you. Yeah.
Everyone's been so nice. I think I've met almost everybody.
I think now you have, yeah.
But last week, you guys don't know this, but last week I went on the podcast alone. It was just me for the first time, and it was really scary. So it's nice to have friends on the show this week. And also, there's some extras on the show this week as well. I'm at my grandmother's house in San Francisco because it's Mother's Day. We're recording this on Mother's Day.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I've got my grandma and my mom and my wife and everybody in the next room. So if you listeners hear any banging or yelling or That's my family.
Awesome, man.
Great.
But I thought on today's show, since we're recording this on Mother's Day and I'm actually at my grandma's house, I thought we'd talk about our favorite moms, our favorite mothers in movies as our main topic of the week. We'll also be talking about a picture of you, of course, which is available now to watch, which ties in nicely with that theme. But first, as always, we've got our indie picks of the week. And whenever we have guests, I always hand it off to them first to gift us with an indie pick of the week. So whichever one of you two wants to set this off, I'll let you do it.
Oh, geez, Andy, you want to go first?
No, I bow to you, the director. As I always did on the set, I'll bow to you.
And then he'll correct me after I say whatever it is I'm going to say. That was our dynamic. Let's see. I don't get out very often, but 2 weekends ago I was lucky to get out for a double feature. So I saw White God and Kumiko the Treasure Hunter at IFC Center here in New York, which both movies I was really excited to see. And Kumiko, just blew me away. It exceeded what all the hype I had heard about it since Sundance last year. And it just inspired me so much in terms of storytelling, and also a bit about in terms of where I might go as a filmmaker. I mean, the Zellner brothers, I had only seen one of their movies before. I saw Goliath at Sundance in 2008, I think it was. And I hadn't seen Kid Thing. So after seeing Kumiko, I kind of geeked out a bit and rewatched Goliath and rewatched Kid Thing, or watched Kid Thing for the first time, and really could kind of see a through line in their sort of the evolution of their work. But it really inspired me. I just liked everything about it.
Yeah, I love that movie too, and if you go on Way Too Indie's YouTube page, I actually have a video interview with Mr. David Zellner, the director of that movie, which is pretty fascinating.
Oh, that's great.
But I love that movie. I love how idiosyncratic it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. I think it unlike a lot of films sort of shot in the Midwest, it didn't play on sort of the culture shock. Obviously that's a part of the film, but it didn't use it as that much in terms of laughs. There's a few lines and a few jokes that I think that the film uses that with, but they could have went overboard, and they could have really tried to focus on just the culture shock. And I think it was really interesting the way that they portrayed both her and the Midwest. That was really cool.
It was like a mythical version of the Midwest.
Yeah, it really kind of was. And I've seen it twice now, actually, and it was really interesting. The second time I really was able to... I really liked the first half, or not even the first half, the first bit, maybe a quarter of the film, when it's actually shot in Japan. And they had some really technical shots, and it's really really well done. I remember there's a specific library shot where it's where they're in the elevator, and you can see the floors of a library as you're going down in the elevator, and it's a really really technical shot. And there's a few of those other ones early on in the film when they're in Japan, and then when they go into the Midwest, it's just very interesting. The whole thing changes down from the actual the shots that they use. It's much more simplistic. It's much more wide shots, and I think that they did a really good job of sort of capturing the Midwest in a big open vastness kind of type of way.
Yeah, the complexion of that film just changes when she gets to America, and it's really lovely. I agree. Andy.
Yes.
I don't know what your indie pick is yet, but I'm excited to hear what it is.
Well, it's kind of unfair. I'm picking a film that I haven't seen, but I've been excited from all the hype and from when it came out in Sundance. But my indie pick is Tangerine, the film directed by Sean Baker, which I'm very excited to see. I mean, as some people know, shot on the iPhone 5.
Yeah, it's kind of I've seen it, and I spoke to Mr. Baker just recently, and God, I haven't seen anything like that movie, man. I really haven't seen anything like it. I can't believe it was shot on iPhones, but I can. It's it has this hyper real look to it, where it doesn't look shitty. It doesn't look like a shitty iPhone movie, but it looks so cinematic, but it also looks different than any other movie shot on, I guess, film or more conventional means.
Yeah.
Really inspirational.
Sean Baker, yeah, he's totally like an indie filmmaker guy. Probably not good to just characterize him in just that kind of genre, but that guy's been doing amazing things through the years, and I've definitely followed his work, and yeah, I'm really excited to check this out. Oh, but I just remembered, just in the fairity of the fact that it's something that I've seen, is actually my friends worked on this documentary, which I saw, maybe it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, but it's called Seymour, an Introduction. It's a documentary directed by Ethan Hawke, and it focuses on a piano teacher here in New York City, and I thought it was a great documentary. So I highly recommend if it gets out, to some place near some people out there in the States or whatever, definitely check it out. It was inspirational, and it's a cool, interesting piece.
It's so cinematic. It's one of the most cinematic documentaries I've seen in a while.
Oh, did you check it out?
I loved it. Yeah.
Oh,
I loved
cool,
it.
man. Yeah, those guys who shot her, actually, not to plug it, but there's a short film I directed like 3 or 4 years ago, and the guys who shot it are the same ones who shot my short. So that's how I was kind of connected and hearing about the piece through the years and getting a chance to check it out.
You're a director too?
What don't you do?
Sometimes I do direct. Yeah, I directed a short film. It's actually on iTunes. Here's my plug of the day. It's called Works of Art, and it came out in 2010 or 2010, and we got the I guess like whatever the best short award at the San Diego Asian Film Festival back in 2010. Nice. Yeah, it was cool, and we actually JP on a side story. He was one of the guys who I got to meet him, and he gave me a few little ins and outs about putting together. Was definitely a very big help in getting me started in terms of getting that project going.
It's a beautiful short. It's a beautiful short. Highly recommend it. Sorry.
Don't apologize. I'm definitely gonna check it out, and that's like an extra indie pick.
Yeah,
it's a little short.
Cool, man. Cool.
I just think the rest of this podcast should just be about going down Andy's resume, because I have fun. when I sent you that IMDb link earlier, I was like, he's listed as a colorist. I was like, I didn't know he knew how to color and grade stuff too. Yeah.
Oh my God. I've done a little bit of that. I've dabbled.
dabbled into color.
You're like the dabbler.
Yes, I am.
The jack of all trades.
Of all trades. But Dustin, what do you got for us this week?
Well, I'm going to do something a little different with my indie pick this week, because it's a film that I could barely recommend seeing. In terms of overall quality, it's pretty terrible. But at the same time, it's absolutely unlike anything you'll ever witness on film. My indie pick this week is Roar, a film that just about no one saw when it originally released back in 1981, but it was recently picked up by Drafthouse Films and is re-releasing back into theaters currently.
Why? Why did they?
Why
did they pick this 81 film up and release it?
Well, I think it's because it was kind of a cult classic because hardly anyone saw it, and they spent like $17 million budget at the time. Kind of a lot of money on this as a passion project of a wildlife enthusiast, Noel Marshall, who directed the film, but he adopted lions and got really big into preserving these wild animals, and decided to make a film about it, apparently, and that's what Roar is about. But he made his money, Marshall did, as a producer on The Exorcist, I believe. So he made a lot of money, and then when he had this money, he decided to make a film himself. And this is his only film that he's ever directed. It's very light in the plot department. There's hardly anything to the film. A family travels to Africa to meet up with the father, who is there protecting these wild lions. The father is Marshall. The family ends up staying at this home, which is filled with lions and tigers and other large cats that are just roaming around in Africa. And the entire film is spent just watching them trying to escape from these animals. the family members are chased from room to room, screaming for their lives. So the crazy thing about Roar is everything is done practically. In any given shot, there may be up to 20 to 30 untrained lions just roaming around, biting, chasing after these people who are actors of the film, but they're not really acting. They're literally being chased around by lions. Like, it's just so crazy of a film. There's a scene where Noel Marshall is like defending the lions. He's trying to protect them, and he's just saying how great they are and how you just have to let them be and give them space, but also stand up and be confident. And one comes up behind him and knocks him to the ground. And you can tell it's completely unplanned. His hand actually starts to bleed. And it's not fake blood. And then he proceeds to go on with his lines. Like, it's just crazy film that, like, is completely can be interrupted by a lion or a tiger at any given moment. You never know what's going to happen. It's bizarre. Amazing. It's a very bizarre film, and like I said, the script is bad, the dialogue is pretty bad, but you have to watch it.
How could you not want to watch that?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, the tagline I think sums it up really well. The tagline of the film is, "No animals were harmed in the making of this film. 70 cast and crew members were." And that's like legitimately, they had 70 people working on the film who were injured by these animals. Again, untrained lions just roaming around, and like one of the cinematographers had like 200 stitches on his head. He got mauled by a lion. The entire time I was watching it, I just kept asking myself how no one died during this production. So that's what I mean by like. It's hard to recommend in terms of the film itself, but it's just a film you have to see to believe, really. It's playing in limited theaters. That's the availability right now. I'm assuming Draft House Films will re-release it on DVD. Right now, you could probably find something on eBay because it was released, but it's hard. It was a hard to watch film. It didn't get much distribution back in the day, so it just recently got picked up. You gotta check it out.
I'm in.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, man. That's weird, man, because I'm actually on the Draft House Films email list, and I've been getting those. I was like, what the hell is this movie? So
yeah.
Thanks for the inside scoop. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out. I have a review up on the site, so definitely check it out to hear more of my thoughts on the film. But it's a polarizing film. It's a film that is such a mess, but it's also hard to look away from. You do have to see it.
Man, I'm sold. I'm sold. But for my indie pick, I'm going to go back a few years. This is not necessarily a film that didn't get... I think it got seen by a good amount of people, but it's one that I forgot about personally, and I just revisited. It's Cave of Forgotten Dreams by Werner Herzog.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing it in this really small art house theater here in the Bay Area when it came out in 2011, and it was 3D. You can only see it in 3D, I think. And I think it's one of the best 3D movies I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's about Werner Herzog checking out the Chauvet Cave in southern France, and inside that cave are the oldest human-painted images in history that we've ever discovered. Some of them are 32,000 years old. And he just goes through the cave and shows us these paintings that have never been seen before, really, by many human eyes. And he also has some interviews with various scientists and historians as well. I really love that movie. I remember getting so lost in it, and I could listen to Werner Herzog speak all day. He has one of the greatest movie voices of all time. I think he says the title of the movie in the movie, and he says, "This is going to be my Werner Herzog attempt." Cave of Forgotten Dreams.
Wow.
Nice.
You like that?
That was pretty good.
It's sweet.
Oh God, terrible. Just terrible. But that's my pick. I think everybody should. If you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a while, it's just fascinating. I think it's one of his best recent works.
I really need to check that out. I've heard only good things about it.
It's really great. And guys, we just gave you like 7 indie picks of the week.
Lightning round.
So you guys go have a lot of homework to do, but that's later. For now, stick with us as we talk about a picture of you. A picture of you. No, really, like you got, JP, me and you are really friendly. We talk every now and again, but I really do. This movie, aside from all that, this movie really does stick in my mind. I think about it to this day. I saw it like 2 years ago or something.
It was actually a year ago, but
was it a year ago?
Yeah, it was actually. You saw it at CAM in San Francisco last March, I think,
or like
around
10 years
then.
Ago.
Yeah, I know. It's been a journey. We're actually coming up on like a year and a half of like being out there between like festivals and theatrical releases and like being available online and like showing at colleges and stuff. And my goal is to get us to at least the 2-year mark, which will be this October, that we're always like playing somewhere. I just like that just tickles me, the idea of that.
That's awesome. I see you I follow you on Facebook and I see you guys everywhere. Like the movie was in Hawaii. You went to Hawaii.
Dang.
Yeah, we did a 2 weeks in Honolulu, like a theatrical run. Like I still don't know who came to see our movie in Honolulu. I mean, it was amazing, but we had like zero press there. We didn't do any advertising there, and they like extended us like an extra week after our initial week.
Wow.
And I want to like meet someone who saw it out there. Like, how did you hear about our movie? Like, what made you go see it? I mean, it was wonderful. It was a great feeling.
For those of us who haven't seen the film, could you give us a rundown of what A Picture of You is about?
Sure. A Picture of You is about these two estranged siblings, adult siblings, who travel from New York City to rural Pennsylvania to clean out the house of their recently deceased mother. And then while they're there in the woods, they kind of make a discovery about their mother that kind of turns their world upside down. And it's a movie that is kind of is rather dramatic and then kind of smashes into this unknown thing and then kind of turns rather comedic. And then there's lots of twists and turns after that. Wow. I think. Is that a good description, Bernard?
I think that's great. And I really love, he refers to a little twist that happens a little bit into the movie, and it's just delicious. I loved when that happened. I totally didn't expect it. And what's cool about it is that this movie changes complexion once that we get past that twist, and I really think it was one of the more surprising films I saw at that. It was the most surprising film I saw at that festival, Cam Fest here in San Francisco. But I loved it, man. You gonna check it out, Dustin? You have to now.
Yeah, I definitely have to. Where can I and other people see the film?
We are on iTunes, we're on Amazon, we're on Amazon Prime, and we're on VHX, and you can also buy a DVD at Amazon.
So how did you get Andrew involved in this? As he seems to be a jack of all trades. How did you get him involved in this picture?
It's a good story. So years before I actually met Andy, I'd seen him in The Corruptor, this Mark Wahlberg Chow Yun-Fat movie, and was just like so impressed. I was like, oh my god, he plays. So The Corruptor is about it's like a gritty sort of cop police noir gang story in New York City's Chinatown, and Andy plays this kind of asshole cop in this Chinatown precinct, and I thought he was amazing in it. He was like riveting. And then we came to meet each other through the Asian American theater scene here in New York, where I kind of did some work in before trying to branch out into film. So I was a fan of his before I actually met him in person. Then I met him through these mutual theater acquaintances, and we stayed in touch. And I was really lucky that he was available when it came time to do Picture Review. Is that accurate, Andy?
Yeah, it totally is. I got to meet, JP through some friends, and like I said, he helped me out with the short, and it was cool. And actually, when we went on the festival circuit, I mean, it was nice. Kind of held my hand, helped me introduce me to some people, and kind of let me know how the flow was going to these festivals and stuff. But it was exciting, definitely, when he and Joe approached me with the script and asked me if I wanted to audition, and I was very flattered, even more flattered when they actually asked me if I wanted to be a part of it, and I'm glad it worked out too. It's definitely one of the most wonderful acting experiences through and through, and it's great that it's had some success and so many people have watched it and enjoyed it.
And you mentioned there Joe May, who's also in the cast, as well as Teyona Paris of Mad Men, and Lucas Dixon, who I met, and Jody Long, who I also met. All lovely people.
How did the idea come to you? How did it start?
I had been working on a couple scripts. I'd been doing shorts for about 6 or 7 years by the time I finally felt ready in terms of like where I was at as a filmmaker to attempt a feature. I had kind of written 2 scripts that year. One of them was was what would become a picture of you. It was inspired by it's not an autobiographical movie, so I want to say that right off the bat. But it was inspired by my experience losing my mom 9 years ago this year, and how that affected the family dynamic, but also how the grieving process felt to me. In that it wasn't what I, prior to this would have thought of as grief, which is, just sadness 24/7. It was a much more roller coaster experience where it was deep sadness and despair 1 second, and kind of simultaneously this kind of elation and laughter and joy, thinking about all the great times I had shared with my mom, and all the great things she had done. So I felt like I hadn't really seen grief depicted that way in film, much. So I was like, wow, how can I kind of translate what my heart felt like during this time and still feels into film and into a story that you would roll with these things the way the characters did. So that was kind of like the idea behind how we told the story and what the story was.
So would you consider this a Mother's Day film, or would this not be a film you would want to watch with your mom? People have asked me that Q&A is like, what would your mom think about this film? Because I don't want to spoil what actually happened in the film.
You can't spoil it.
Sure.
Some people would see it and go, wow, this is kind of an irreverent film about your mom, And I can see that on like a superficial level, but I could also say that, no, actually, the film is about learning about all the aspects of your mom, just like learning about that she wasn't just your mom, that she was, a wife, a friend, a lover, a coworker, all these different aspects of any, human being. This reflected the way I felt about, when I lost a parent, or this, a lot of people who get it really love it.
I know Bernard loved it. He gave a great review of it on the site, a picture of you.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I'd love to ask you,
Sure.
what it's like being an Asian American actor in the biz today.
Wow, big question.
It is a big question.
I've been in the business. I went to Yale as well, and I graduated in '94, and that was it was an interesting time period. It was shortly after I think Joy Luck Club had come out, and American Girl, the infamous TV sitcom, had kind of just premiered maybe a year or 2 before that time. So there was definitely a sense at that time that maybe there would be more opportunities. Right now, it seems like there are more opportunities, and that it's great to see people like John Cho and Daniel Dae Kim and Ken Leung and all these other really great Asian American actors in prominent roles that a lot of people can see. But that being said, I still am challenged with issues of being confronted with, playing roles that might seem a bit stereotypical. Some of them ride the line. A lot of times they might demand a little bit of an accent and things like that. And so you're constantly, I think any type of, artist or whatever, you're always kind of checking and making sure, hey, is this role, is this really essential to the storytelling? Where is it going?
And this role must have been a joy, because it's the opposite of stereotypical.
Yeah, it was, that was the one thing that was definitely really great about that experience. And, I went into it, one of the more challenging roles that I had, a welcome challenge in terms of getting a chance to play with both humor and then kind of a serious contemplative, kind of thought thing about what was going on with mom and stuff. But it was, really, it was a lot of fun for me as an actor to finally get an opportunity for myself to play a role like that, and not only play with cool character themes, but also just have a chance to kind of be one of the main through lines through the whole film.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend the film one more time, A Picture of You. You can find it now on iTunes, Amazon, VHX, apoyfilm.com. Really love it. Please, everybody go check it out. It embodies what we love here at Way Too Indie. It's an indie film through and through, and it did very well for itself. So for all you indie filmmakers and actors out there as well, this is a good example to follow. So that was our talk about A Picture of You. And now we're going to get into a larger topic of mothers, movie mothers. Since we're recording on Mother's Day, before we take a break, have to say goodbye to Andy. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Hey, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on here. I mean, you guys keep doing your stuff, and thanks for inviting me on. It's been cool to share this day with you.
And who knows, maybe the next time you'll be on our podcast, you'll be as an editor or a colorist or a director or a cinematographer.
We're all
Sure. Call me anytime, man. I'm there.
All right. There he
Thanks,
is.
guys.
Andy Pang. We'll be back with you guys after the break with our favorite movie mothers. You're listening to the Way Too Indiecast, the official podcast of waytooindy.com, where you'll find film news, reviews, and interviews with an emphasis on indie. Follow us on Twitter at Way2Indie and like us on Facebook. Hey guys, we're back. Thank you for joining us on episode 19 of the Way Too Indiecast. We're almost at 20. I guess we're almost at 21. We're almost able to drink one more year. But we're having a lot of fun on today's podcast. We were talking about A Picture of You. We've got special guest JP Chan here with us, of course, Big Boss Man, Dustin Jansick. And now we're going to be talking about our favorite movie mothers. I love seeing movie mothers because I think sometimes when I see a mom in a movie that reminds me of my mom or makes me feel, gives me a feeling that I'm a kid again, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a strange thing, but I love that. I love it. It's such a comforting feeling. No one can comfort you like your mom. There are so many classic movie mothers. We're going to miss a zillion of them, but these are just our favorites. This is opinion, right? Hey, I was going to say don't yell at us in the comments, but please. If we miss, please yell at us all we want. Just comment.
Especially if you're a mom and you can comment on what mom movie we missed.
Good point. JP, what do you got?
Well, I think mine's kind of out of left field, but it just kind of popped into my head. And it's not even technically a movie mother, but I was thinking about, when you posed the question, I was thinking about Julianne Moore in Boogie Nights, actually. And she doesn't actually, she's not technically a mother there, but that's such a strong part of her character, who she wants to be, to Mark Wahlberg's character, to Heather Graham's character, and how they kind of want her to be that also. I mean, that there are these lost souls and this, just kind of crazy industry, and yet, they're all trying to hang together as a family and work out those family dynamics. So Julianne Moore, amazing in so many things, and has played mothers in other movies. Just Boogie Nights just popped in my head, and
that's an awesome pick.
That's a really interesting pick. I don't know how anyone could follow up with something like that.
Well, how about you give it a shot, Dustin?
Some of the classic ones that when you initially posed the question, the ones that just instantly jumped out, which may seem a little bit like obvious, are maybe Sally Fields as Mrs. Gump and Forrest Gump. She's heartbreakingly sweet to young Forrest and gave him everything that she could to succeed in life. She's amazing in that one. It always kind of gets to me when I see that film, and she's an amazing mother in the film. And the other one, which is kind of maybe a strange pick, I had some kind of interesting picks. I did Mrs. Bates from Psycho, and I know you're a huge fan of that, Bernard. And that's not necessarily a good mom, but I mean, it's a mom that I like for.
It's your favorite movie mom. It's one of your favorite movie moms.
A very peculiar character, if you will, right?
I mean, she happens to be, spoiler alert, I guess. I mean,
it's hard to talk about.
To be a corpse. But
it's really hard to talk about her in that film without giving too much away.
I think spoilers are safe for that film by now. But I'm gonna, one that I'll say, the first movie mom that really affected me when I was a kid was Bambi's mom in Bambi.
Oh yeah.
That broke my heart, that movie. That killed me. And I'm going to pair with that Dumbo's mom.
Dang.
The scene where Dumbo's mom is cradling him through the prison bars and singing him a song while Dumbo is crying is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen in any movie. Shattered my world. Watching that, well, it still does. When it comes on TV, me and my wife sometimes stumble upon Dumbo. It's always at that scene where his mom is locked up in that tiny trailer. And she's just singing him to sleep. He's so happy to see her. Oh my God, Rex.
That's a good pick. That's
Rex
a wreck.
Me.
Yeah, that's a wreck.
But let's take it back to you, JP.
Oh, I don't know. How do you follow that? I mean, we were asked to name movie moms. We have one porn star mom who's not really a mom. we have a dried up corpse, and then we have like an elephant. That's really.
We have very unconventional moms, and this is our favorite unconventional moms in movies.
That's right. That's awesome. Let's see. What's the unifying theme to all of them? I think it's the sacrifice, right? Well, I don't know about Psycho's sacrifice, but whatever walk of life they come from, to pop us out, and raise us and nurture us through the world, as best as they can, in spite of all the trying circumstances. So that gets me every time. Speaking
in terms of sacrifice, a more recent example of amazing moms in movies is Patricia Arquette in Boyhood. Just how you describe JP. She's a single mom raising 2 young children, and what she does, I think, is inspirational. It's emotional, and it was actually my favorite part of Boyhood. Was her character. She's amazing. She's what I think a mom represents on film perfectly. She's strong. Regardless of her situation, and she's your average mom. She isn't like this mom who some of the other ones we had mentioned before are very unconventional. She's a mom that maybe doesn't get enough credit. I mean, she's your average mom displayed on screen that I don't think gets enough attention.
Yeah. I mean, she won an award. She won an Oscar.
Right. No. Right. But I mean, like.
Oh, you mean the mom in
terms of like, in terms of like the film. I mean, a lot of times in some of those films, like Sally Field and Forrest Gump, maybe a little more dramatized,
more sentimentalized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think Patricia Arquette in Boyhood isn't that unique of a mom.
She's unremarkable. I mean, she's in every, you're right. She represents the everyday American mom,
exactly,
which is an amazing thing to be.
And I think doesn't get portrayed on screen that often.
Yeah, it doesn't. But one time it was, and I think it's one of the most honest portrayals and unflattering portrayals of mothers in movies is a movie I think you've seen, Dustin. I don't know if you've seen it, JP. Chantal Ackerman's Jeanne Dielman.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That is the most unique. If you guys don't know what this movie is, it's like 70 hours long, and it's just, it really is. I'm not exaggerating. It is mostly
70 hours long.
No, it's mostly static shots of a mother doing a mother's work, a single mom doing chores over 3 days, and it's a beautiful film, and the statement I think that Chantal Ackerman was making, this was like from the 70s she made this. Mm-hmm. Her statement was that, if John Wayne is deserving of having a movie made about him standing tall and killing people, mm-hmm. then a hardworking mom is deserving of that movie time too. She deserves 3 hours. She deserves 4 hours of movie time. Because a mother's work is, like you said, Dustin, you're right. It's one of the most underappreciated jobs in this country.
You're right.
And that movie is a tribute to mothers everywhere. It ends on a kind of strange note, but
if you can make it through that whole film, you should get an award.
Everyone should watch that movie once.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Everyone should watch it once.
Yep.
I've never seen it. I have to check it out.
Dude, it'll blow your mind.
It's on the Criterion Collection, and it is like what? It's 5 hours long, 4 hours long.
No, I think it's like almost 4.
Okay, it's almost 4. And like you said, it's just static shots.
It's like Ozu. It's like even longer Ozu.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it's just it focuses on this, on the mom who literally there'll be a 15-minute shot of her making dinner, and like there's no cuts. It's just that's what she's doing, and so it's a very interesting pick, but it makes sense to pick that.
Yeah, and also a quick note is that Chantal Ackerman hired only women to be on the crew for that movie.
Oh wow!
I think it's maybe the greatest feminist movie ever made.
I should have mentioned this earlier when we were throwing out our unconventional mom picks, but I'm gonna go Shelley Duvall as Wendy Torrance in The Shining.
Oh,
Yeah.
She beats the hell out of Jack Nicholson, protecting her son Danny from the evils that is Jack Nicholson in the film, and she's scary in of herself, really. I mean, she's kind of depicted as kind of a scary woman, but I mean, she's one that stood out to me when I was thinking of some kind of interesting mom picks in movies.
yeah, totally agree. That's a good one. I left field ones like Christian Scott Thomas in Only God Forgives, maybe.
Whoa. Piper Laurie from Carrie, she was really great. I also want to mention as an unconventional pick, this is not in a movie. Have you guys seen Friday Night Lights on the TV show?
No.
Never seen it.
Dude, Connie Britton in that show. She and Kyle Chandler as Mr. and Mrs. Coach Taylor in Friday Night Lights are maybe the best representation of a marriage I've ever seen, movies or TV. I love her. And I'd have one final one, Bong Joon-ho's Mother. You guys seen that one?
Absolutely, yeah. That was actually right after Julianne Moore. That's what I thought of, but I was like, well, that's maybe too. Yeah, that's amazing. That movie is amazing.
Who's more devoted to their kid than that mother? It blows my mind. That movie, of course, is kind of disturbing and probably the opposite of Sally Field and Forrest Gump as far as tone and everything. But I think Hae-ja Kim, who plays the mother, that was, I think, what year did that movie come out? Like 2010 or 11? That she was one of my favorite performances of that year.
Yeah. That movie's riveting. But talking about Sally Field and Gump, right? There's that scene where, right, obviously she has to sleep with who was the guy, right? And then
he was like the superintendent, or he was like the principal of the school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Gump has to hear that, and like that always stuck with me. That is like some super dark shit, I think.
It's true.
Like, I mean, maybe not quite as dark as Mother, but it's like it's dark and like this is totally plausible, right? Like what mom will do, what someone who wants to exploit a woman who is in a weak spot, will do. And that always like shook me and stuck with me about Gump.
It literally shows what she's willing to do for her son, and crazy circumstances, and she's willing to better him succeed in life because she wanted to get him into that school that he didn't want him to be a part of. So there was, I think that one, I think Sally Field, I mean, to me, it was almost like a cop-out, almost like that was like an obvious one, but it really is, like, you're right, that bringing up that scene.
Totally.
It is totally, like, makes sense. She's awesome in that film.
That's going to wrap it up for us today on Mother's Day. I'm going to go enjoy my day with my mom and my grandma and my wife, who is not a mother, but maybe one day she will be.
One day.
Maybe someday soon. It was great having Andy on too. Thank you, Andy, if you're listening to this. And before we go, JP, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at jpchan, and I also have a website, jpchan.com. I'm very easy to find.
Awesome. And Dustin, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at djansick. That's DJANSICK.
And you can find me at BJ_Boo. And of course, find Way Too Indie at Way Too Indie. Like us on Facebook. Find us on Stitcher Radio and iTunes. Subscribe to the podcast there. Check out our YouTube channel, Instagram, Spotify. We're everywhere. Please come follow us. And please, go hug your mother for us.
Yes.
I mean, once you're listening to this, it won't be Mother's Day anymore, but moms deserve more than one day. I think we can all agree on that. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.